The South China Sea is once again the center of a dangerous standoff, a region where tensions simmer just beneath the surface and the stakes could not be higher. This time, the confrontation is between the US Navy and a powerful Chinese flotilla, both sides maneuvering for advantage in these contested waters. The crisis was sparked by a collision between Chinese and Philippine vessels near the Second Thomas Shoal, a flashpoint that has long been a source of friction in the region. The incident drew immediate U.S. attention, rapidly escalating what began as a regional dispute into a confrontation between superpowers, with the world holding its breath. 6 Chinese warships faced off against a lone U.S. Navy vessel, transforming a local clash into a global flashpoint and raising fears of a wider conflict. For the Philippines, this is a fight for sovereignty and the right to defend their territory and resources in the face of overwhelming pressure. For China, it's a bold assertion of power and a demonstration of its growing influence in the region, determined to enforce its claims. For the U.S., it's a test of its commitment to its allies and to the principle of freedom of navigation, a cornerstone of international law. The world is watching closely. This standoff is about far more than disputed shoals or territorial lines on a map. It's about the rules that govern global order, the security of vital shipping lanes, and the future of peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. How this crisis ends will send a powerful message to the world. Will diplomacy and international law prevail, or will force decide who controls these vital waters? The South China Sea is a vital maritime highway, carrying trillions of dollars in trade every year. Stretching from the coasts of China and Vietnam to the Philippines and Malaysia, these waters are among the busiest and most strategically important in the world. The region is not only rich in oil, gas, and fish, but also serves as a lifeline for global commerce. Yet beneath the surface, it's a battleground of overlapping claims and simmering rivalries, where economic interests and national pride collide. China's sweeping 9-dash line, first drawn in the 1940s, claims nearly the entire sea, overlapping the exclusive economic zones of its neighbors like Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei. This controversial boundary has fueled decades of disputes and diplomatic standoffs. To enforce its claims, Beijing has built and militarized artificial islands, transforming reefs into fortified outposts with runways, radar systems, and missile batteries. Moves that have drawn international condemnation and alarmed regional powers. In 2016, the Philippines won a landmark legal victory at The Hague, when an international tribunal ruled that China's expansive claims had no legal basis under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. China rejected the ruling outright and has continued its assertive tactics, ramming fishing boats, blocking resupply missions to outposts, and using water cannons to intimidate rivals, escalating confrontations at sea. These so-called gray zone tactics escalate tensions without triggering open war, but each incident brings the risk of a dangerous miscalculation or accidental clash between rival forces. The result is a climate of constant friction and uncertainty, with the threat of conflict always looming over the horizon, casting a long shadow over the future of the region and the world. The standoff involves 3 key players: China, the Philippines, and the United States. China sees control of the sea as essential to its security and prestige, enforcing its claims with a powerful navy and coast guard. The Philippines, defending its territory and fishing grounds, maintains a symbolic outpost on the BRP Sierra Madre at Second Thomas Shoal. For Manila, this is an existential fight for sovereignty and survival. The U.S., bound by a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, regularly challenges China's claims with freedom of navigation operations. Washington has made clear an armed attack on Philippine vessels could trigger U.S. defense commitments. Every confrontation risks drawing in the world's 2 largest militaries, raising the stakes for the entire region. On September 17, 2025, a routine Philippine resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre turned volatile. Chinese Coast Guard ships aggressively intercepted the Philippine vessels, using water cannons and dangerous maneuvers to block their path. The situation escalated when a Chinese ship collided with a Philippine vessel, causing damage but no casualties. 6 Chinese warships formed a blockade, while a U.S. Navy ship observed nearby, signaling American resolve. Beijing claimed the Philippines provoked the collision. Manila called it a deliberate ramming and violation of maritime law. The direct physical clash marked a serious escalation, pushing the region closer to open conflict. The world took notice. This was no longer just harassment but a dangerous new threshold. The incident sparked immediate, sharply divided responses. Manila condemned China's actions as illegal and dangerous, demanding respect for international law and the 2016 tribunal ruling. Washington reaffirmed its ironclad commitment to the Philippines, warning that further escalation could invoke the Mutual Defense Treaty. Beijing defended its Coast Guard, blamed the Philippines for the incident, and dismissed the tribunal ruling as invalid. Each side framed the clash through its own lens: international law for Manila and Washington, historical sovereignty for Beijing. These irreconcilable narratives fuel distrust and make diplomatic solutions elusive. The cycle of accusation and escalation continues with no end in sight. The standoff threatens not just regional peace but the global economy. As tensions escalate between major powers, uncertainty ripples through financial markets, shaking investor confidence and prompting fears of a wider conflict. The world is watching closely, aware that the consequences could be far-reaching. The South China Sea is a critical artery for world trade. Any disruption could spike shipping costs, delay goods and fuel global inflation. Over $3 trillion in trade passes through these waters each year, connecting manufacturers, suppliers and consumers across continents. Even a brief blockade or confrontation could send shockwaves through supply chains, affecting everything from electronics to food. Insurance premiums are rising and some companies may reroute ships, adding delays and expenses. Shipping firms face tough choices: risk dangerous waters or absorb higher costs by taking longer routes. These decisions impact delivery times and prices for businesses and consumers worldwide. For Filipino fishing communities, the conflict is personal. Harassment by Chinese vessels threatens their livelihoods and stirs national resentment. Generations of families depend on these waters for survival, and every confrontation at sea deepens the sense of injustice and fear. The crisis is also testing alliances, pushing the Philippines closer to the US and unsettling other Southeast Asian nations. Regional leaders are forced to navigate a delicate balance between economic interests and security concerns, as old partnerships are strained and new ones are forged. Regional unity is fraying and the risk of an arms race is growing. Countries are ramping up military spending, wary of being left vulnerable in an increasingly volatile environment. Constant tension undermines trust and makes cooperation on shared challenges harder. Diplomatic efforts are strained, and the spirit of regional collaboration is giving way to suspicion and rivalry. The world's prosperity is now tied to the fate of these contested waters. What happens here will shape the future of global trade, security and stability for years to come. Experts warn that repeated gray zone tactics are normalizing aggression and raising the risk of catastrophic miscalculation. The line between Coast Guard action and military conflict is dangerously thin. Many urge immediate de-escalation and a return to diplomacy, using frameworks like UNCLOS and ASEAN to manage disputes. A binding code of conduct is needed to prevent future clashes, but progress is slow. The international community, including Japan, Australia and Europe, must unite to uphold freedom of navigation and international law. The South China Sea is a test of whether rising powers can be integrated peacefully into the global order. Without renewed commitment to law and dialogue, the region remains a powder keg, threatening peace and prosperity worldwide.